Well, hey, everybody. This is David Carr of Steward Your Business. So glad to have you back here on the Business Roundtable Podcast, where I've got an amazing guest we've had in the past. It's been a little while. Moe Evans, Maurice, glad to have you back of Powernality, what should I say? Superpowered Leaders. There's just so many titles that you have, Moe. I get so excited.
I know. I love it. I love it, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Yes, I am Maurice W. Evans, and I'm the CEO of Powernality. And we have so many great, as you mentioned, divisions like superpowered leadership and superpowered teams, which I'm excited to talk with you about some of those principles today. So thanks so much for having me once again.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We're super excited. So I was talking to I'm Maurice, Moe to me.
You know what? All my friends call me Moe. All your listeners are my friends. So there Moe is fine.
All right, good. So Moe and I were talking before this because I was talking to a colleague recently, and they were lamenting the fact that they were having this open door policy, if you will, as leader, owner of the company, and it wasn't having the desired effect that they wanted to. The employees weren't necessarily coming and talking with them. So I thought I was talking to Moe about this and his great expertise in Powernality, which we'll get in a little bit more here in the episode. But this concept, or why don't open door policies always work? We think this sounds like it's a great thing. I remember in college, professors would say, I have an open door policy, or have an office hour, if you will. And some people would take advantage of that. But in a previous company I worked into, Moe, I had the owner. She said, "Hey, I'm going to open this door," and it was kind of crickets. There wasn't that many people. Occasionally, someone would speak about that, and so you and I both are passionate. And me, a certified level 1 trainer with Powernality, and in different aspects of my business and organizational health, Moe. And I know I'm really excited to get your input and perspective here, because I'm just thinking about the business owner, or it doesn't have to be the business owner. It could be the leader, right, of a department, director, somebody in a place of leadership where they're not getting feedback the way they desired it. And so I'd love to just explore this with you, Moe, about some of these ideas of why open door policies might fail. What are some of these communication barriers? And I foresee this as being a multi-part, at least 2-part episode. So we're going to give you guys an introductory kind of foray into this, but exploring the idea of the open door policy and kind of what's been your experience with that, Moe?
Man, I love the concept of the quote unquote open door policy. I think it sounds great. When we start talking about superpowered leadership, one of the things is that leaders lead. And so oftentimes leaders by default in an organization are expected to have certain behavior styles that as a whole, as a society, as a community, we've attributed to what we define as a leader, the way a leader should perceive things and behave, which may or may not be congruent to their authentic super self. Who they truly are, it might not match what has been forced on them. And I say forced because they're expected to conform to a certain way. Right. And the reality is there are many behavior styles, there are many temperaments that can be authentic to themselves, but yet don't seem to fit in that box of quote unquote leadership. And I think the word, the phrase, the concept, quote unquote open door policy is a result of this normative that we have set out as an expectation. We're saying, hey, my door is open, come through anytime. Well, that will work for people who believe they should be able to go through any open door anytime. There's a group that sees a closed door and doesn't care that it's closed. They're going through.
They're like, I don't know if it's open or closed. I got to go in there.
Right. And if it's locked, then I'm going to bam on the door and make you open the door. So the door, the lock, closed, open, to a certain behavior style, that means nothing. To others, even if the door is wide open, that doesn't mean it's appropriate to walk through. So I live in New York City, but I also lived for some years in Kansas. In Kansas, as a city, there's a lot of people who leave their doors unlocked and even open. And I guess it's just kind of, if you know the person, I guess you could just walk in there or what have you. But I guess they're not really concerned about that. Here in New York City, not only do you not leave doors open, you do not leave them unlocked. Because there are people who will come in and you really don't want them to come in.
Yeah.
And those who respect a door, whether it's opened or closed, understands, well, I'm not going to go in unless invited. I'm not going to go in without permission. Like, who are you? Why are you going through that door? Who do you think you are going through that door? There are a lot of restricted areas that you'll see, like when you're in the subway, right? There's certain doorways that you don't go through. The door may be open, but you're not supposed to go through there.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm saying is that internally, from a perspective of, as the neuroscientists call it, a locus of control, there's people who will never be comfortable with just going in through a door.
Yep.
So you have to go back to the concept of the origin of who created this concept and why did they feel it was something that would work for or make sense to everyone else. You're actually creating a specific culture where you're asking people to suddenly become what we call outwardly expressive. When they may just be inwardly thoughtful, where they're not the type of person to just do something.
Right. Mo,
go ahead.
Can I ask you a question? Yeah. So, so you're, just to clarify, so what I'm hearing you say is there's a certain behavior style or personality, not personality, but really that's just your preferred way of being, like we talked about. So if you're maybe more outwardly expressive, what I'm hearing you say is you might just say, hey, I'm open, I'm energetically open, like the conversation, the dialogue. And so I'm setting up this framework or way of being that you're expecting other people to kind of come into your world and you're not going into their world, right? You're setting this up and saying, yeah, here it is, come in here. And some people are like you said, they're naturally going there. They'll pound the door, they'll knock it over just because that's what they do. They're like, hey, I got to get to that person. But what I'm hearing you say, Mo, is there's other people that are like, yeah, that's not the way I operate. That's not the way I communicate and engage with people, engage with the world. Am I hearing that correctly? I want to make sure I'm
absolutely. So when we look at the characters of our four primary types of powernalities, these preferred behavior styles. In fact, I've got a little chart here showing them.
Yeah, let me add that up here, Mo. Let's see
great.
Here. I think I've got that. There we go. Let me see. There we go. Go for it.
These are in quadrants, which are, two intersecting hemispheres. So we have a northern hemisphere, a southern hemisphere, an eastern hemisphere, a western hemisphere. You might consider it the top half, the lower half, the right half, or the left half. So in that northern hemisphere, we have the commander and the energizer. Those are in the northern hemisphere. We call those people outwardly expressive. These are people that, and this as being certified in this, those are people who are going to talk about whatever they want to talk about. In fact, the difference between the outwardly expressive and the people at the bottom, the calculators and the protectors, who are inwardly thoughtful, is that the northern hemisphere actually tends to tell, and the southern hemisphere tends to ask. Now, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Because when we look at this concept, this is a difference of I'm in the northern hemisphere, my wife is in the southern hemisphere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so when my wife wants me to know something, she asks because she's in the southern hemisphere.
Mm-hmm.
So she might say, "Oh, do you want to take your jacket?" Now, my normal perspective, we've been married for 20 years now, just celebrated in March.
Yay.
Yeah. And so I have learned through Powernality and through my marriage to understand that asking for someone in the southern hemisphere is a form of telling for them. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, I'm thinking, no, if I wanted to wear a jacket, I would have grabbed a jacket. I don't want to carry a jacket around. It's going to be so. In my early years, I would have said no. But she's asking because she's already checked the weather. She knows it's going to get cool. And then what she would not be comfortable saying is, hey, take a jacket, or you should take a jacket. That's what I would say. I would say, hey, you better take a jacket with you. Take this jacket. Hey, don't forget your jacket. Grab your jacket. I'm going to tell. I'm the northern hemisphere, right? And so if you ask me, I'm not going to receive it as well as if you just tell me. My thought is, why don't you just tell me? Her
Right.
thought
This
is,
is
why
the
are you
problem,
being
right?
rude?
Would you say, Mo, then I'm not saying making a blanket statement, but because I'm also an energizer, knowing this too. I know you're a hybrid between the commander and the energizer, but would you say I'm more comfortable, for example, with an open door policy because I like talking to people and always happy. And so those folks in, like you're saying, in the southern hemisphere may not be wanting to come up there. I'm not saying all of them wouldn't, none of them couldn't have an open door policy, but I'm asking, like, come into my world and tell me something is what you're basically what I hear you saying, Mo. Come tell me what's on your mind.
Not only as the northern hemisphere, you want people to tell you, but that is your language. You tell. So the presumption is that others will tell. So here's what's interesting. Management and leadership training historically in the States has been a little bit different. Management training has been more southern hemisphere based. So when you're management and you're managing your employees, the consensus is that you don't tell people what to do. You ask them, right? You don't say, hey, make sure you give me that report by the end of the day. You good manager has been trained to say, hey, if you don't mind, do you think you could get me that report by the end of the day today? Right? We're trained in management to ask, but what's intuitive for a leader who's in the northern hemisphere, that's who created the open door policy, is to tell. They just presume people are going to tell them things. And if you open the door to tell, if you just say, hey, tell me something, then surely they're going to tell, because the commander and the energizer, you don't have to ask them. They're going to tell you anyway.
Yes.
So surely, knowing that I'm the type who would tell as the leader, if I say I've got an open door, then my perspective is, well, they're definitely going to come and tell me because I told them they could. But that's not what's intuitive for them.
So you're saying, so Mo, so just for somebody that's listening into this and we're looking at this, if you're saying somebody in that northern hemisphere that's outwardly expressive in the way that they speak, you're really only getting, half of the population, if you will. I don't know the exact numbers, but you're missing half of this other group here in the southern hemisphere is what I'm saying. These calculator protectors, that may not be their preferred way of being, and more, what I'm hearing you say is they're going to be more asking questions and telling, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Guess what? Majority of employees in an organization, in a corporate organization, are going to be protectors and calculators. So it's a lot more than half that are going to be uncomfortable. 70, 80, 90% could be in that southern hemisphere. and they are not going to be confident. And there's a lot of things, there's a lot of contributing factors that, we can touch on in regards to, a safe environment, confidentiality. There's all kinds of things that we can talk about that I think ad infinitum. I think there's plenty of information. I think a lot of people talk about those things and we can touch on those. But I think the thing that people miss is what is intuitive for the individual down at their core of who they are.
Yeah.
And that the vast majority of the people in your organization, an open door policy is scary to the very nature, the core of their authentic self.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can relate, Mo, in that, and having been a manager and in a leadership role, I didn't know these terms before I met you and got certified, but I can tell you now that I know them, it's helped me become better aware of myself as a leader, and then recognizing and looking back, Mo, for example, rather than having an open door policy where I would set, for example, a one-on-one meeting intentionally to ask questions like you said, like, how are you doing? Where are you at? With people, because I knew they weren't going to be able to speak up, if you will. I mean, I think the most common one I've seen, Mo, is not just an open door policy, but you have like a meeting, right, with lots of people on a call, and now that I know this, it's most likely the commanders, the energizer. Like somebody says, anybody have a question or thoughts or feedback? It's most likely the commander energizers, in my experience, that are going to speak up and say something. And you might get a calculator or protector to speak up, but generally doesn't seem, that's been my experience. You can tell me if I'm wrong here, Mo, but when you're creating a forum like that, that's just not a comfortable place to be exposing themselves and asking lots of questions. It's like you said, kind of creating a safe space or a connection. Instead, again, telling, I'm like, let me hear from you. What do you want to say right now? Who has thoughts on this?
And this has to do with their speed and their pace, right? So people in the northern hemisphere are going to be very active, assertive. They have a very rapid pace. They process quickly. And so because they move fast, generally when something's going on, they're going to say, I'm going to speak out. I have to say something about this.
Right.
They have to speak. Whereas those who are in the southern hemisphere are more even paced. They're more calm and careful. And they're going to say, let me reflect. So a northern hemisphere is going to say, I have to say something. The southern hemisphere is going to say, should I say something?
Yeah.
I don't know if I should speak right now. Is this the appropriate time? Is this the appropriate place? Is this the appropriate way? So I can tell you that the people in the southern hemisphere are going to do a lot more thinking about whether they should go in the open door and what they should say if they go through that open door. That's where those other factors come in. In what happened to the last person that spoke. So I'm going to show here some of the general characteristics that we ascribe to these powernalities, right?
Yep.
So if you have an individual who is in the southern hemisphere, a protector is going to be very polite. And a calculator is going to be very prepared. So a protector may feel it's impolite to come to your open door situation because of their loyalty to the manager or a teammate. So they might not say something that would shine a bad light on someone.
Right.
The calculator is going to be very detailed and very prepared and is going to be concerned about having their presentation in order and having the exact words to say. They're the person who's going to come in with a prepared document that they probably not even go into the open door. They're probably going to walk in and leave a letter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. I could
door is great in theory.
So Mo, I mean, I could see this too. So I've had this again, like you said, this is somewhat self-imposed. I mean, it goes both ways. So I've seen somebody like a calculator, for example, where somebody's very, very, very thoughtful. They want to get all these things written down and thought, and they're working with somebody that I would say is probably a commander, very fast-paced, decisive, moving quickly, straight to the point, Mo. And if the calculator feels like put off, or they lost their train of thought, it's very off-putting, and so they don't even want to go there because it just feels so, off, again, just off-putting and unsettling. And I found that, even though, let's just use this example of a commander calculator, where commander's saying open door policy, here I am, da 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 da, let's talk. The guy is like, man, I don't even know if I could get all my thoughts together quick enough to get it lined up for the commander. And so I'm going to keep it to myself, kind of a thing.
So the commander's like, yeah, come on in. Calculator's like, great, I want to tell you about something. So as you know, the company was started in 1939, and one of the core principles of the miners that were working at that time had decided that, and the commander is going to listen for a couple minutes and be like, yes, I'm aware of all the history. What was it that you were coming in for? And the calculator's like, okay, I'm getting to that. Because the calculator feels all the details are necessary. And so the commander just wants to know what happened, but the calculator wants to talk about what color the room was when they walked in. And that was significant because the room used to be a different color. And a study had shown about how color impacts mood. And the calculator is going to be thinking about a lot of things that the commander doesn't have time or interest in, because they're just interested, get to the point so that we can get things happening. Right? Get to the point so we can get to it. And like, don't rush me. And so the first time the calculator feels rushed in that environment, they're never, ever, ever going through that open door again. Even if invited, if dragged in, they will sit down and they won't say anything. Because of these, the calculator moves in the most deliberate manner, and the commander moves in the most swift manner. To a calculator, commanders are reckless. To a commander, calculators are sloths.
Right.
Both are incorrect about each other. Because those are two different superpowers. Calculators are going to make sure every dot is crossed and every T is crossed and I dotted. The commander is trying to get there quickly, get done swiftly, make it happen. And it's okay, because there's a time when you need a jet and there's a time when you need a tank. They don't move at the same pace.
Yes.
They serve different functions. So we want to look at the superpowers, but recognize the limitations when we insist that everyone comply to the superpower. So here's what's really horrible is the commander and the protector, because their powernalities cross. They don't even share anything in common. All the other quadrants have at least something in common as far as a hemisphere is concerned. Commander and protector, energizing calculator, they are quickest to conflict. So majority of people are going to be protectors in a job. I would challenge people to survey and see their organization. They're going to find the vast majority of people, particularly those not in leadership, are going to be protectors. And so that's terrible when you put the commanders in charge, because the protectors are going to feel attacked. The protectors are going to feel rushed. The protectors are desiring to be loyal, and so they're going to need time to process, but not be given time to process. They're going to move into a people-pleasing mode. They're going to tell the commander what they think the commander wants to hear because they're just trying to get the dragon to stop breathing fire.
So, Mo, again, and I love this, and I think this is such powerful stuff. I mean, it's so concentrated, Mo. You have so many great insights here, and I want to clarify a question here. But what I'm seeing this right now, where I really identify these communication barriers based on your preferred style, the way you behave, the way you show up. And for somebody like a protector, and I can totally see this now, Mo, in this, if they need this, they're really caring, they're probably going to be, like you said, shut down in a different way than the calculator. They just are like, they want harmony. They want things to be smooth and considerate. Right. And so they may, again, because they're not being invited in a sense, a different way of like asking them questions, allowing them in their own way to unfold and to share. If they feel like they're getting, like the commander is really, hitting them up, or maybe even the energizers just so talking them over, they might shut down, and you might miss some key nuggets instead of maybe listening. And I know we'll probably have to get into another episode.
They're guaranteed to shut down.
Yeah.
They're guaranteed to shut down because that's their response to pressure anyway. Calculators and protectors withdraw. They are conflict averse. So a commander is, okay, well, tell me right now. And the protector or calculator is, give me time to think about what I want to say. Well, commander, energizer, why don't you know what you want to say? Just say whatever you're thinking. Calculator, protector, I'm not sure what I'm thinking yet. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. How do you not know how you feel? How do you not know how you... And so the commander and energizer are pushing for now, and the more they push for now, the more the calculator and protector withdraw and say, I need time, I need space. But the more time and space they have, then the more slippery and shady they come off to the commander and energizer, who now are not trusting them and think that there's some kind of deviousness in there. And so they push even harder. So you have pushing an unreasonable overbearingness of the commander and energizer pushing harder as the calculator and protector withdraws and goes inwards defensively more. And the more they go in, the more they get pushed. And the more they push, the more the other goes in. And it just works backwards.
Yeah.
Oh, they only need to experience this one time to say, I'm not interested in the open door.
Right. And I don't know about you, Mo, but I've known so many people, including, myself. I'm more, as you know, outwardly expressive. My wife is more inwardly thoughtful. And I've unfortunately fell into that trap, like you just said, Mo, of pushing for answers. And then, you see this in relationships. And like you said, it only gets worse. So one person keeps asking questions and pushing, the other person is backing away, right? And then what happens is then people start doing, stupid stuff, which we don't want to have happen. People, really getting defensive because like backed into a corner, right?
Right. Now your superpowers get turned on in the supervillain mode because you got to fight, you got to defend. Now, what is the strength of the individual is used in a way that becomes harmful. And so we want to avoid that. And here's what's interesting that we've discovered with superpowered leadership is we have a culture temperature check. There was a family therapist named Virginia Satir, and she saw that relationships in families had a temperature. Either it was really hot, and that led to anger and frustration, or it became really cold, which led to stonewalling and passive aggression, which really, from superpowered leadership, we understand is the difference in how northern and southern hemispheres respond when there is a very poor temperature in there. It's not so much hot or cold. It has more to do with their powernality. And so she saw that it could be measured and it could be changed. So we have a thermometer that was inspired by her concept in superpowered teams and superpowered leadership that certified trainers can facilitate this for any size team or organization. Our process actually creates an open environment, a culture of openness. And whether public or private, when this is facilitated, it gives permission and it encourages authentic feedback from participating stakeholders of the organization. So managers and leaders are both shocked and impressed with how well this works. I've never seen where things have not been amazing at the end, where things come up that management and leadership were not aware of, or that both in regards to areas of needing improvement, but also in regards to new ideas on how to thrive, what's necessary to become a more cohesive team, and exactly how to create renewed excitement for the mission. And I'm not seeing all of this not happen. This happens every time. And all of this is internally generated by the stakeholders of the organization.
That's awesome.
It is. It's really amazing because we look at the psychology of how people communicate and we break down the barriers, we build trust and safety in a very ordered, systemic process. We take a very systematic approach to this process that allows people to open up and share the things that make sense. It creates a positive feedback loop. And this facilitation, it works in all kinds of organizations, whether it's between two people or whether it's in a room of 200. This process works. And when we create this open environment, a culture of openness, an open door culture is better, or rather, a culture of openness is better than an open door policy.
Yep. Well, Mo, I think that's a good place maybe to pause it, because I think we want to come back and have a conversation more in this open. I like how you said open culture, and how you're having this space and holding this frame. And honestly, anybody that's listening in, any of you guys want to get in touch with Maurice W. Evans, you just type his name up on the internet, you'll find him. He's all over the place, or myself too. The reason why we have this podcast is to provide value, insights to help you lead your teams, lead yourself well. We would love Mo, I'm sure and I've talked about some other guests we would love to have on here to further share their experiences and insights here on what are the strategies, what are the ways, and certainly learning all about Powernality and what you've already created for years. And I'm applying this, Mo, and this is one of the reasons why I got certified, because I completely saw the value in this and in the language and the way it could open up just a dialogue and understanding and awareness. I really appreciate, Mo, you sharing this tool and resource with everybody here on the podcast, because really it is transformative. And I don't know of anything else quite like it, honestly, out there today.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It definitely is truly unique, and we love it. We love everything about it. And even if, during this time, if someone writes in with a question, or maybe someone wants to come in as a guest with an actual situation, we'd love to be able to help them with something they're actually dealing with their organization.
Yeah, we would love to. Yeah, as you guys are listening to this, subscribing it, leave comments. We go back, we look at comments and feedback, even if this episode's been out for a while. Mo and I are in contact pretty much every week and collaborating, sharing, so we would love to hear from you. And whether you're, again, watching us on YouTube, hopefully you are, if not, but you guys can catch obviously some of the screenshots that we shared here today. If you're just listening to the audio, we appreciate you subscribing and you're leaving your reviews. Of course, 5-star reviews are always welcomed, but we really appreciate your authentic feedback and how we can help you. Mo, I just really appreciate you coming on tonight and sharing your insights and your passion for Powernality and just how we can overcome maybe this barrier of this once was thought as a good thing, and it's not bad. Like I said, it sounds good, open door policy, but how can we make it better? How can we communicate better with our teams? And I really appreciate your insights.
Man, I appreciate you having me. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Excited to help people steward their business. So anytime, my brother, looking forward. Let's definitely let's get into some nitty gritty on the
this will be part 1, everybody. So come back for at least part 2. Who knows, we might have a part 3 on this topic. And again, we look forward to having some more guests and comments. And again, if you're interested, by all means, please just message me, myself here, Steward Your Business. You can reach out to me on all the social platforms. Again, Mo's out there too on all of them. We would love to hear from you. Appreciate you all listening in. And until next time, take good care. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Have a good one. God bless.